had promised you earlier, I will be joined by, of course, a very vocal youth in studio. He's already here. And Opiyoh was the former SONU Secretary General. Of course, the years he will explain in detail later. But right now, he is also very vocal as with the National Youth. He's actually the National Youth Leader of the Third Way Alliance. A lot of you people have heard that, that party's name over and over, especially in the few months, especially with the Punguza Mzigo initiative, hashtag going around Twitter. And of course, young people were also following closely on what Punguza Mzigo is for. Is it for the citizen? Is it also political? Is the youth benefiting anything now that the youth say this is our country and for the future? But today we are joined by a very key person in that initiative push, that is in the national youth leader of that particular alliance, Opiyoh. I'm sure a lot of people from the University of Nairobi can relate with you.
Sure.
It's good to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I thought we would find you in a suit, because people believe that a very serious youth should be in a suit and a tie. Yeah. But it seems like it is not.
Actually, I was in a suit and a tie in the course of the day. Then I went back home, changed it, and came for the interview.
You were here to perfectly represent the youth.
Absolutely.
All right, it's good to have you.
Thank you so much.
Now, before we go deeper into the place of the youth in the country, I just want to give people a breakdown of how the parliament looks currently, so that they understand, and if the youth are playing any role in any of these seats that I will read. Now, it is the 12th National Legislature of the independent Kenya. I mean, since the 2010 new constitution that nearly doubled the number of parliamentarians. Now, to form a house of 222 members to one with 2 chambers and about 418 members, including 2 speakers. Now, however, the National Assembly now has 290 elected members, each representing a part of a county. 47 women elected from each of the 47 counties, and at least 12 members nominated to represent women, youth, and the marginalized, if you got that very clearly. Now, these add up to about 349 members. Now, we should note that nominations are made by parties according to their proportion of members. However, people are asking me, well, how many youth are in the parliament? And how many bills have they passed? The youth, including you, are pushing for the youth to be on those particular seats. I just wanted people to have an overview of the number of people or representations we have in parliament. However, we have a few vocal leaders. Babu Owino was also with, the SONU department once when he was in Nairobi University. We also have people like Justin Sakaja, who is a senator. Kevin Shaban, if you followed his story. Of course, the Nandi County Governor, Stephen Sang. Wambui Nyutu, I mean, a young lawyer. There's so many youth, but so far as a leader and somebody who's very vocal now with a political party, do you feel that the people who have been nominated or elected in capacity of being youth representatives are really delivering to the youth in Kenya? Before we even go deep to the Punguza Mzigo, just generally, now that you're very vocal in the same.
I think number one, I have first to show my gratitude for welcoming me
Karibu.
Here in the studio. I want to be very straight on this issue. We have to thank our country and probably the youths, the Kenyan youths, the way we are going. Because the people that we elected as members of parliament, if you look at both the houses, that is the bicameral parliament, that is National Assembly and the Senate. If you look at the youths that are elected in those houses, majority are trying, they are coming up with bills, but you do realize that what has been happening of recent or what is generational in terms of electing youthful leaders, people have actually abused or assumed in this case that any person probably with fame or popular can be a leader. So we end up electing youths to parliament that cannot debate on issues, that cannot articulate issues, that cannot come up with tangible bills that probably can be to the advantage of youths. So the biggest problem we are facing, yes, we have youths in parliament, but majority of them are not in a position either to bring bills in these houses or to articulate issues. We have less, and we have a number of them trying the best. Like I saw the other day, last week, it was Jaguar trending about bringing a bill. He wants the retirement age to be reduced to 50. So I have to congratulate the few that are trying, but majority of them, I think, are like sacks of potatoes in parliament. I'm sorry to use that abusive term.
All right, that was very quite a strong opinion, and of course you've mentioned the bill that is being tabled. However, let's talk about in that same light. We have the Kibra by-elections where we've seen a lot of young people being nominated. I do not know if it is the older politicians now have realized that the youth are taking more momentum or would take momentum into the political field. But what is your analysis generally now as a youth and as I would say, young politician in that matter with the Kibra by-elections? We've seen what happened to Mariga, but he has now been cleared by the IEBC, of course, after the 1 or 2, 3 things that happened in the course of last week. What do you feel about the Kibra by-elections? Like you said, it is not just a matter of being a young person. Do you feel the candidates that we are having for this by-election, of course, slated for November 7th, are fit?
Yeah, they are viable. There are people that are known. There are people that are probably in past cases they have shown that they can do something tangible to society. But my overall comment about Kibra by-election, number one, I want to thank the Jubilee Party and people that have been supporting Mariga for bringing this race back to life, because the majority of people banked on this issue that Mariga will not be cleared, that Mariga cannot be a candidate in this race. His arrival in this race actually complicates issues for any aspirant that was there before, including the ODM Imram, including the ANC Owalo, who was banking on ANC and the lower votes to win. So for me, it's going to be a very tough, interesting game. And you know very well, it is not as we see it. It will be a political, like a competition or a contest between people that are planning to, or that will be eyeing for the position of presidency in 2022. That will be a ground for them to flex their muscles or to come out and say, come on, do you know, I have influence. You know, Deputy President William Ruto has come out so clear that this time round probably he would want to see a Jubilee Member of Parliament winning that seat. And if you have been keen about the Deputy President's politics, you do realize this is his first time testing political waters in Nairobi County. He has been across the country everywhere. So this race, no matter the number of votes Mariga will win, those will be an emblem or a reflection of what you're going to see in 2022. So
you do agree that this could be a show light, if I could use a word like that, for the 2022 politics?
I believe so, though not
because
much.
from your last remarks on the same, you have said this could show us what to expect.
It won't show us what to expect, but it would show us the strength or the increase in popularity of a particular candidate that will be eyeing in 2022.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
it will
right.
be a litmus paper.
It will be a litmus paper
for him.
However, allow me to just twist this a little bit so that we are not very, let us be a bit political. Okay. So you do feel that if Mariga would win this particular elections, that probably Ruto would have his way as well in 2022. Just a litmus paper. We are not saying this is for sure what will happen in 2022, but what are you trying to,
insinuate?
Yeah, to insinuate.
What I'm trying to insinuate is that if Mariga would win this election, then that would show that the popularity of the Deputy President William Ruto will be at par in Nairobi, which has never been the case for years.
So Nairobi County, so to be specific.
Is popularity.
All right, now a lot of youth are still, wondering if this is going to work for Kibra, and this is a very interesting, by-election, and a lot of Kenyans are still following closely. But let's go down to the Kenyan youth. People have been doing hashtag Punguza Mzigo for a while. Now, the 3 months period, of course, with the debates going on, we do not know how far really, now that you're also representing the party, how far is it with the Okuro Okot, Punguza Mzigo right now? Within the 3 months, of course, even as we await, you could tell us a bit of, the progress on the same. And also you could break it down again for the youth. Really, is it important for us Kenyans and for the youth? Why are you, as a youth, really, standing with the Okuro Okot, hashtag Punguza Mzigo, or rather the initiative? What benefit is there?
I think
not only for the Mwananchi, but specifically for the youth.
Doris, if that is one thing that I believe is timely or that has arrived in this country at the right moment, then it is Punguza Mzigo Bill 2019. Because what we are proposing in that bill, the 16 points that we are proposing in that bill, narrowly or probably to be empirical or to be simple, we are talking about only 5 issues. How are we going to ensure that this rampant corruption, blatant corruption, and impunity, we end it or we manage it or we reduce it? How are we going to cut down the wage bill? How are we going to lower the living standards? How are we going to ensure that we have more industries at the county levels or at the ward levels so that people get more employment? And above all, how are we going to have more money at the wards? Basically, what Punguza Mizigo bill entails, or the framework of this bill, was that Kenyans are tired of having representation that does not help. So are they ready to trade off meaningless representation with development at their wards? Because what we are actually proposing is that at least 35% of the national revenue, let it go back to the counties.
Okay.
And we want to abolish what is called Constituency Development Fund. We want to have ward development fund. Just imagine, Doris, your MCA is given 100 million every fiscal year to do development in the wards. He can do a lot of things compared to a member of parliament that will have to probably bring together around 5 wards that are in a constituency to actually materialize development. So in this case, what we are doing, or what we are proposing in this case, and we followed the Constitution. Leave alone other initiatives that are out there in people's mouth. Here says they are pedestrian because they have got no document, they don't have anything to show. Us, what we're proposing is that if we were to solve the growing unemployment rate, if we were to reduce the wage bill that we currently are seeing, then the best thing is, number one, let us reduce, number one, the members or the National Assembly that currently stands as around 416 members of parliament. So we are actually abolishing those 290 constituencies. Then we are coming back with at least 147 constituents or representatives in this case for both houses. So that is what we are advocating for.
I will still go down to a very major issue that you have mentioned there on corruption. A lot of youth today are saying we cannot find jobs because of the corrupt ways to get it. People know who. When you hear people call out for interviews, you ask yourself, are these Kenyans coming to, are they coming to, let's say, for example, look for Huduma number, or are they looking for jobs? Because the number of queues, the length of queues that people see out there are disheartening. When you talk about corruption, there have been also, utterances that the youth are being used in this same, evils, I would say, that are in the country. So far, as a youth that also has been in university leadership. Do you agree that the youth still need capacity building, that they also need sensitization, that they are really not doing what they need to do as per the Constitution? Maybe they don't even know the Constitution in how to control corruption in their own capacities, as much as Punguza Mzigo is also coming down to help the youth understand this.
I believe we still need more sensitization. We still need more capacity building. But we have to ask ourselves as youths, what is our role in fighting corruption?
Exactly.
In this case, what is our role? We are not going to sit there being used every election period. Kenyan youths, me included, majority of us believes that our problems as a country can only be solved through election, which is a blatant lie. We can't solve our problems through elections. The questions that we should be raising as youths, probably that are enlightened, and the ones that are in grassroots, or in this case, the wards and the up villages, is that how are we going to ensure that the issue of manufacturing is coming up so clear from government Big Four agenda, so that we get more employment cases? Because if you look at the corruption you're speaking about, the biggest conduits and perpetrators of corruption in this country are political leaders. And that is why there is a need to reduce them. If you reduce the chain, we're going to reduce even the corruption itself. So for me, for youths to be in a position to empower themselves, then we have first to ensure that more money are at the wards. People are having development at their doorstep, so that there is no need for you to travel to Nairobi, stay probably in Kayole, move to Uhuru Park every day, praying and looking for a job. You'll be having a job at your doorstep back at home. So that is our basis.
You just said praying and looking for jobs. Now youth today are really, we saw hashtag graduates. There was a time Twitter was talking about the way graduates are studying and not getting jobs. There was a time that there was a lot of hashtagging around unemployment. And I'm glad that you mentioned unemployment. However, let's take a look at security and the heist. You followed the several money heists, the banks being, offloaded of money. And people also related this to certain movie trailers. I'm saying this because we're talking to the youth really tonight. And people have said this comes with frustrations. and the youth not knowing where to turn to.
Yeah.
However, on security matters and terrorism, extremism, also youth have been, pointed out or been on the spot.
Yeah.
To be used on the same. What are you doing as a youth or in your capacity as youth to also talk to the youth in matters of extremism and terrorism and things like, things that we have seen, the evils around? Are there any movements? Are there any, things that you have in place that the youth are coming in to discuss certain issues regarding the same?
Yeah, I have to congratulate, or to, in this case, recognize the efforts that have been made by civil rights societies, different youth organizations like USPAC and the rest, for going from university to university, institutions to institutions, and villages to at least sensitize youths where they're not supposed to participate in these acts like terrorism. We are speaking about money heist or what. But we have first to agree as a country that what has cost us all this is the manner in which youths are frustrated. If you look at the trend in social media, today if Apiyo steals 75 million from KCB, then that will hit media and it will trend. You will see 90% in youths in social media will congratulate me.
We saw that with the 72 million.
For really working hard.
Yeah.
You can imagine the situation of, or the mentality already cropping in the country among the youths. And that must be stopped. You cannot stop that if we don't provide solutions. And solutions are very simple.
Okay.
We are first to come out clear, number one, and define our strengths and weaknesses. As youth, first, are people, in terms of education, are they more empowered? Do we have even skills? I had the Deputy President yesterday saying that we should have more people going to TVETs and more youths moving to school. The question, what is the cost of education? Is it still affordable to every person to go to school? Expected. Look at the universities today. In fact, majority of people that are involved in those activities are either graduates or they are undergraduates.
Because they're smart people.
They're smart people.
Okay.
So for me, I have to tell you that as a youth or youth organization or political party, we encourage and we recognize and we acknowledge efforts made by civil rights societies, efforts made by different political parties and different outfits for sensitizing youths on what they're supposed to be doing. Wherever they feel frustrated or wherever they feel everything that they planned is not going as they expected. That is what we must do first. Then number two, we have first to encourage our youth to have what is called this issue of be your self-model, be hardworking, be you. Majority of our youths are very lazy. That I have to accept.
Oh, okay.
Majority of youths are very lazy. So we have first to have self-motivation among ourselves before we do everything as well.
You said something about the youth being lazy, and before we wrap up this particular segment, I just want to, of course, talk about social media, and because you have seen it, it's been a very influential tool. And when you also saw the congratulatory messages. And I will also I want you to speak on social media very strongly today, because once we are coming into the by-elections and the 2022 elections as well, the youth have been known to take to social media.
Yeah, sure.
Even matters of homicides, if you have followed, it's been around the youth, of course, now blaming it on frustration and depression. However, as a tool, social media really, you would want to talk about this even for the character and mindset change. You're now a leader, and because you touch on it, please talk about it in matters of hashtag and changing and modeling the country. How can the youth now use social media more positively? And of course, you'll give us details, not just generally, to push for better change, because now we've seen it can massively influence people. Absolutely.
Number one, we have first to accept that in the modern world, social media is one of the parameters that are being used by almost all institutions, all agencies to pass information, or it is a platform that probably organizations or society can use to pass certain fundamental information. But as well, it has been used massively or abused to pass very, very evil information, or information that may end up or have a negative impact on our people. Me, what I would want to tell youths of our country today about social media. Number one, social media addiction is one of the worst things. So if you can have something to do first, let us have first something you're doing, something you're putting your head into, something you're engaged to, so that social media becomes number two. But if there is a clamor from the country or from any part of the nation about probably cases of corruption, cases of money heist, cases of, let's talk of homicide, or cases of even committing suicide, a number of youths are committing suicide, let us come out, use those social media platforms to pass information to government and to the relevant agencies on what we feel they're supposed to be doing. Because Doris, I can't lie to you. If there is one bright person I know in this world, it is a Kenyan youth. Even across the continent, other countries fear Kenyan youth. Because when they face you even in social media, Twitter, what, you won't even have a place to hide. So in this case, I feel like even if social media is good, it has taken much of our time, so much. So much. So that people are forgetting that we are supposed to develop ourselves, empower ourselves, and do other things. We should only use social media. Apart from being a site for entertainment, please, come out. You know, a number of youths, number one, Doris, let me be brief as I wrap up. Only 5% or 6% of Kenyan youths participate or would want to show interest in national issues in this country. The rest, 90%, are interested about today. What did Rihanna alifanya nini?
What's trending?
Or what is happening with Willie Paul and Diamond. 90% of youths are like that. You get it? For me, I would want to challenge our youths. Even if you are a fan, even if you are moving into other people's lives, celebrities and what, we must come out and talk about issues affecting our country using the social media platform, not only using it to entertain yourself. That is my position.
Now that is very strong. The points that you have said today are Opiyoh. The youth are lazy. And the youth are not using social media correctly. 90% are not using or not participating in matters that will bring development even to the youth. Thank you very much for being very outright about this particular, issues. We hope to have you again once we have more time for these particular issues, and for being very vocal even with the Punguza Mzigo and breaking it down for us. Thank you so much. I know the youth now want to follow you on social media. You can find them on social media in certain platforms. They would love to follow you.
Opiyoh, that is in Twitter. Then JF Apiyo in Facebook, then Opiyoh in Instagram. All
right. Now, thank you so much for gracing our studios. Let's take a look at